It's now my pleasure to introduce our Alumni Council Chair, David Green, and he will have the honor of presenting the 2011 Alumni Award for Outstanding Contribution to Education. David was awarded his first master's degree from the Ed School in Human Development and Psychology, and he then went on to earn a master's degree as well as a doctorate in Administration, Planning, and Social Policy. Since then, he has held leadership positions at Brown University and Smith College. In these roles, he's helped to shape academic programming. Since graduating from the Ed School, David has continued to be involved with us in a variety of ways, and we are all grateful to him for his leadership this year of the Alumni Council. Please join me in welcoming David Green.
Thank you very much. I have to say, as an alum, it's actually very gratifying to have a dean who is very bold and innovative and who brings dancing to these kind of ceremonies. I don't know if that's happening throughout Harvard today. It's different from what I remember. I don't remember all of these prizes either, and I'm not sure if it's because I didn't get one or if they didn't exist. But I'm going to assume it just didn't exist at the time. It's also nearly impossible to follow. So, they say, we'd like to have you come up here, and what my real job is to say nice things about Tim Knowles, who is incredible. So that's going to be an easy part. But I had one or two things to say before that. But they say, come up and say this. But first, we want you to follow the two best teaching faculty at Harvard University. So let them go first. And in front of them, we're going to set up two students who are going to have standing ovations. And then you bring you up and see how you do. So it's very pleased to be here. It's the kind of warm welcome I get, and it's also, but I will say that one of the things that I'm most proud of about being here today is I'm sharing the stage with some people for whom I have the utmost respect, and one of them is Dick Murnane, who just spoke. If some of you taken classes with Dick, you must have if you've elected him to this position. I would say I tried to take every class that Dick taught or that John Willett taught or others, and the teaching was just extraordinary. I also, with Judy McLaughlin, I see here today, I saw Sarah Lawrence Lightfoot earlier today. It's just some faculty who were just absolutely magical in the class, and I learned many things from them, and I just wanted to mention a couple things that I learned from Dick, because if Dick would remember back when I was in class, he might think that I really didn't learn much at all, but I did. And so one of the things I learned about great teaching, actually, watching Dick. And I learned that great teaching is about clarity, it's about high standards, it's about honesty, and it's informed by rigorous scholarship. And Dick was really all about those things in the classroom and as a scholar. But I also, and this was mentioned earlier in terms of the comments about Dick from his evaluations, that I just learned to think differently about solving problems because the kind of work that we did in his class and his approach. And that made such a difference for me. It's something that I continue to use every single day in my work. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about and use the approaches that I learned here when I was at the Ed School. And I'm forever grateful for that. And I learned a number of other things, but one important lesson, and this may have been the most important lesson and the hardest lesson, was I was never going to be a great economist. This was a tough one to get, but you watch Dick and you see his craft and you see the kind of work that he does, and this is true of faculty at Harvard in general, and you realize how difficult it is to really be a great scholar and a great teacher. These are extraordinarily difficult things to do, and I have great respect for people who are able to do that. And in fact, what I've done essentially in my work is try to commit myself to supporting scholarship and teaching at the highest levels. I'm at the University of Chicago now. Tim Knowles, who was the award winner today, is also the University of Chicago, so I'll give a shout out to the University of Chicago once or twice here today. So that's my home away from home, and I'm not here at Harvard. But I want to say one of the reasons I'm here today is because I believe that one of the ways that I can further this commitment to scholarship, to teaching, to education is actually by giving back to HGSE. I won't say this nearly as well as students did earlier about giving back and how important this is, but I just wanted to make one or two comments about this because I think it's very important. When you support the talented faculty who taught all of you out here today, when you help provide financial aid, and I know how important that is. I came out of here with a lot of debt. This dean has done a lot to work on the fact that she wants to have students here who can come here regardless of their ability to pay. That's a very big deal, and I hope people will continue to support that at the Ed School, because in the end, if you do that, you are supporting students and faculty, but you're supporting a group of students here who really have endless good options. All of you could be doing a lot of other things than what you're going to be doing when you leave the Ed School. But you choose instead to take on some of the toughest, most important societal issues of our time. And if you care about that, and I know all of you do, then you'll know that a smart investment is to really give back to the Ed School, to support all the people who will come after you and who can make a difference because they've had the kind of experiences that you had here, of the kind of experience that I had here, that Tim Knowles had here. And that's, I think, supporting the Ed School and helping it meet its essential mission is something that's an important part of this community. So I wanted to stress that. But I also give back because I know in the audience today there are individuals here who are like the Alumni Council Award winner, Tim Knowles. There are many of you, in fact, who, like Tim, will be relentless in fighting to give children the opportunity for an excellent education. Tim sat where you are today. In fact, we graduated the same year with our doctoral degree, and I'll tell you, the weather wasn't anything like this at all. It was thunder, lightning, there was rain coming down, so the sun is shining on this group of students. But we weren't fully cursed, but we've done okay, but it was, when he sat here like you, and the thing that I think Tim did, and I know that when I see the students today, I see you doing the exact same thing, is that he gathered every tool that was available to him here on Appian Way, the tools of research, of teaching, of advocacy, management, and leadership, to change institutions, to reform systems, and to better the lives of countless students and their families. Tim is the John Dewey Professor at the University of Chicago and the John Dewey Director of the Urban Education Institute at the University of Chicago. He, among other things, he oversees 4 charter schools. He oversees a major research effort that is for the city of Chicago and for other metropolitan areas throughout the United States. He oversees a teacher training program, and I could go on, but he runs a major enterprise that has a very significant commitment to improving urban education. I'm privileged to work with Tim at the University of Chicago. It's an institution that's committed, like Harvard is, to really improving and leading school reform efforts throughout the nation. And I'm especially delighted that Tim will join a distinguished list of past winners of the Alumni Council Outstanding Contribution to Education Award. So Tim, I'm just going to read the citation on this award. A school leader, reformer, researcher, and policymaker, Timothy Knowles embodies HGSE's spirit of working at the nexus of practice, policy, and research. His contributions to education are numerous and varied, including the development of literacy tools, school organization, and teacher training, and college readiness initiatives. Tim's focus is on improving public education for all children, particularly those in urban America. He has founded schools and served as a district-level leader in Chicago, Boston, and New York. His current work, leading the University of Chicago's Urban Education Institutes, concentrates on systemic change through research support programs and the generation of tools and models to improve schools nationwide. Always prioritizing student learning, Tim's work has far-reaching impact across the education sector. His achievements exemplify the devotion, ambition, and skill that HGSE alumni bring to their work. For these and other profound contributions to education, it is with great respect that we bestow the 2011 HGSE Alumni Council Award upon Timothy Knowles, Ed.M. 96, Ed.D. 02. Tim?
Wow. Thank you very much, David. Good afternoon, soon-to-be graduates. Where are you? And good afternoon, family and friends and faculty and alumni. It's a great honor to accept this award on this sparkling May day. In preparing to stand before you this afternoon, I made a series of mistakes. The most significant was to ask my 3 daughters their advice about what to say. I was told unequivocally not to be embarrassing, not to try to inspire, not to be serious, and definitely not to be funny. This left me with very little room. But thankfully, Harvard taught me to dig deep. So this afternoon, I want to say a few words about what I've learned is possible for children who depend on the quality of schooling the most. Part of what I learned here from the students who shaped this place, and particularly from the faculty who anchor it. Like Dick Murnane, who taught me the value of microeconomics as well, and much to my surprise, actually taught me to like it. And Bob Peterkin, from whom I learned to strip down the hardest decisions to their core and put them beside my values, and only then decide what to do. Like Richard Elmore, a rare hybrid, part Machiavelli, part Dewey, who persuaded many of us that the singular end in this profession is the quality of teaching. And Pat Graham, my advisor, who held the first draft of my dissertation at arm's length as though it contained some deadly virus, and asked, "What is this?" Responding in her inimitable way to my 40,000 words with just 4 of her own. Put Knowles in it. Pat gave me voice. This place leaves indelible marks. And yet, as Jared pointed out, it is by doing the work that we discover what is really possible. A few years ago, my colleagues at the Urban Education Institute published a report that tracked every student in the Chicago public schools from 9th grade through college. What we found was stunning. The results were banner headlines in the Chicago Tribune. 6.5% of Chicago public school 9th graders had a 4-year college degree by the time they were 25. 6.5%. If you were an African American boy, the number was 2.5%. These data excluded students with disabilities. So 1 in 50 African American boys finished college by the time they were 25. This is beyond broken. This is criminal. Why do I speak so bluntly? Because this has nothing to do with children. Yes, conditions matter. Poverty, gangs, deeply neglected neighborhoods, too many absent fathers, they all fuel those broken odds. But changing the odds does not depend on fixing these conditions. Teachers, school leaders, and how we organize schools, it turns out, are among the most powerful antidotes of all. What we do matters enormously. How do I know? I know because in 2006, the same year we published that study, we started a charter high school serving African American children on the south side of Chicago. We accepted students by lottery from 48 elementary schools across the south side. 70% of the incoming 9th graders were at the 5th grade reading level or below. And as of last spring, 4 years later, those freshmen were seniors, and 98% were accepted to a 4-year college. What we do matters. At the Urban Education Institute, we've built 15 years worth of persuasive empirical evidence that would stand the Murnane test, that demonstrates that in those same neighborhoods that Coleman looked at, some of Chicago's most disadvantaged neighborhoods, that schools can thrive if they are organized for improvement. They have to focus on 5 things: ambitious instruction, leadership, parent engagement, school culture, and the professional capacity of teachers. And when schools attend to those 5 things, they are literally 10 times more likely to make substantial improvement and 30 times less likely to stagnate. The message here? This is firmly within our grasp. Instruction, parent engagement, school culture, these are things that we control. Children rise not based on where they live, their prior test scores, their color, but because of what we do. But is this work possible at scale? Can we change the odds in significant ways for large numbers of poor children? I'm convinced we can. After the headlines in the Tribune faded away, we decided to find out precisely why so few students finish college, to identify the particular places we could intervene to change the odds, the potholes on the path to college, we called them. Remarkable things happened. Teachers responded. Shane Evans, one of the most gifted teachers I know, created a course for his 7th graders, a course he simply called high school. His students spent the year doing intensive research on the quality of every high school in Chicago, learning which ones would dramatically increase their odds of finishing college and what it would take to get in. The result? The number of 7th graders on the honor roll doubled that year. And 3 years later, 100% of Shane's students remain on track to graduate from high school. And critically, this single course for a single class grew. Today, the curriculum spans 6th through 12th grade, and next year, we'll pilot it in 10 cities nationwide. The federal government responded to our findings as well. The IRS, believe it or not, streamlined the FAFSA. Who knows what the FAFSA is? The FAFSA is the Byzantine application for federal financial aid. So they streamlined it. They made it easier for families to overcome the biggest barrier for getting and staying in college, paying for it. There was even a White House press conference. The IRS commissioner was there. Arnie Duncan, the Secretary of Education, was there. A character who just got a new job, Rahm Emanuel, was there. And while the fact that the IRS responded to a little band of educators on the south side of Chicago still shocks me, the real victory was this. In Chicago alone, the number of high school seniors successfully applying for federal aid has risen from 65% to 87%. And Chicago Public Schools responded. With our help, the district built an early warning system for every 9th grader not on track to graduate. Teachers, parents, school leaders all know who is at risk. Schools are required to intervene. And on-track rates have risen from 50% to almost 70%. 10,000 more students will graduate from high school each year in Chicago. Those graduates will live longer. They will earn more in their lifetimes. They will be significantly less likely to go to prison. They will vote, volunteer, and give blood more often. They will have children with higher levels of educational attainment. This is possible, at scale. But it depends on us. It depends on us to look clear-eyed at the places we work, whether schools or schools of education, and ask, are we organized for improvement? And it depends on us to find and use our voice, to challenge those that tell us children, particularly children growing up poor, can't or won't prevail. We can change the odds. It'll take time. There are no silver bullets, but the opportunity is ours, and the evidence is before us. Thank you very much.